Hello and good evening to you if you're joining us on Discover TV this evening for Discover TV Presents. I'm Martin. Hello. I got dressed up specially for the occasion tonight because joining us on Discover TV Presents is royalty. It's like a version of royalty, right?
Hmm?
It's a version of royalty, isn't it, a baron?
Not royalty,
Okay.
aristocracy.
Well, well, a member of the aristocracy then anyway. I thought I should make an effort. Baron Goodlove, welcome to the
Thank you for
show.
having me.
It's great to have you. Great to have you with us. Presenting you tonight, we're going to have a chat and a bit of tunes. I realise the thing is, it's gone a bit lopsided, and I don't know what to do about it. You see. Also, I've realised that headphones and a bow tie is not necessarily a great look.
You need to own it.
Okay, I will.
Did you tie the bow tie yourself?
Does anyone? It's clipped
Yes.
on. It's clipped on, man. It's clipped on. Of course, but don't tell anyone I said that. So welcome to the show. If you're watching us live, please do comment, get involved if you'd like to say hello, if you want to ask a question, or if you're enjoying anything. We'd love to hear from you. If you're not enjoying it, just keep that to yourself. I don't know. Go somewhere else. But it'd be lovely to hear from you. So get on the stream. And so, shall we start with a song and then we'll take it from there? Is that a good idea? That sounds like a good idea.
A song from me or a song from the
you,
internet?
I think, would be the better suggest. I think that'd be better. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, I will do an old-ish single.
Fantastic.
I guess we'll talk about the new single later, so I'll save that.
Excellent.
But for now, I'll do an old favourite called "My Love."
Excellent. Take it away.
My love, I can't seem to find my love. Where is she? She who I can call my own. She's gone. She's gone to another place. The mind keeps her in a world that's safe. My love, I'll send a shiver down your spine. My love, I'll help you leave your walls behind. My love, your cold dark nights are bright. My love, won't you let my love in? My love, stop your weeping for the past. It's done. There's no time for those regrets. Your heart will guide your soul to my touch. Nothing and no one could take from my clutch. My love, I'll send a shiver down your spine. My love, I'll help you leave your walls behind. My love, your cold dark nights are bright. My love, won't you let my love in? a shiver down your spine. My love, I'll help you leave your trouble behind. My love, your cold dark nights are brightening. My love, won't you in my love?
That's good stuff. My Love was the debut single, right? Or was it?
Second single, technically. Track called Orpheus came out first. But yeah, My Love was the first single that we kind of released generally.
Yes, as a kind of
out into the big bad world
of the thing. So, talking about that, tell me a little bit of history of Baron Goodlove. Then, as you said, there was a track Orpheus, which is possibly about 4 years ago. Now, was that
Yeah.
right? Was that the very start of Baron Goodlove as a musical project?
Yeah. So I started out by myself, and the idea with the name as well is that Baron Goodlove is me, and the Dreadful Noise is the band. So I can either go out solo or with the band. I started out just me and a guitar. I was approached by a local guy called Dan Spalding, who was putting together a charity record. And he'd seen me live, but I didn't yet have any recorded output. So he said, would you record something for the album? And I asked, it may come as little surprise that I'm friends with other musicians. So I asked my friends if they would be prepared to play on the record, and they did. And then I said, well, that was fun. I'd never heard my own music with a full band in real life. You know, I always imagine it with a full band, and when I do demos and stuff, you can program in the drums and play everything else yourself. But it was quite exhilarating to hear it live in the moment. So put the band together, and then did the record the following year. And here we are now.
And that's it. Well, thanks for joining us. That was great.
Yes.
Next time. Orpheus was. I think that was the first track I heard, and it was. It's interesting. You still play that one live, but it feels like it almost exists separately from everything else. Does it feel that way to you, or is that something I'm making up?
It is quite a special song to me because it's the first really complete song I ever wrote, and it's quite nice, I think, that something from early in my career, or in fact even just early in my songwriting as a whole, is still with me, something I haven't yet grown tired of playing, something I hope people haven't yet grown tired of hearing. So yeah, I mean, I suppose it exists separately in that it is earlier on. I wrote it earlier and recorded it earlier. So I suppose in the same way that album bands, each album sounds like a different period in their history. Yeah. Maybe that individual track is my debut sound, and then everything that's come after is slightly different.
Yeah. I was reading from your website. There's a biography on your website here, so I thought I'd read it.
Okay.
Because I already know you a little bit anyway, but I thought I'll see what it says. It says, raised on blues, soul, and jazz records from his father and grandmother. And I guess my sort of original question about that was blues, soul, and jazz records. What sort of records? Well, two questions. This is a great one they always ask on the Word podcast, which I love. Which was, what was the music playing device in your house when you were growing up?
CDs. Always CDs.
Yeah.
When I first started buying music, would used to buy cassette tapes because the singles were cheaper. They were £1 cheaper than the CDs. So I used to buy cassettes because we still had cassette players. But the music that I would listen to before I had any of my own money and any of my own initiative to seek out new music and things like that was always on CD. My father plays and loves listening to music. My mother plays, she loves listening to music. I tended to go more towards dads than mums. Don't know why, just that's the way it went. So yeah, CDs. In my grandmother's house, it was always vinyl.
Right.
I mean, she had CDs, but being of being the older generation, I suppose she just amassed records and they stayed with her.
Yeah.
The nice thing when you're a kid is that I was immediately drawn more to albums with good artwork before you even hear the music. And of course, vinyl, particularly 12 inches, that's the best format in which to really get lost in the artwork.
Yeah.
So yeah, CDs and vinyl. Short answer.
I think it's because I was reading that, say, from the biography, and it says raised on the blues, soul, and jazz records of his father and grandmother. And maybe it's more indicative of my age than yours, but I have this kind of very sort of nostalgic image of kind of gathering around the record player, kind of pulling stuff out of the box and going, "What's this?" and kind of putting it on. What were it says those were the records. What were the musicians? What was the sort of thing you were listening to?
From as young as I can remember, I loved Elvis. And then he obviously framed music of his era and location in a certain way. So naturally you seek out other things around it. So I was listening to Louis Jordan a lot, and I think the energy of that kind of thing really speaks to children, particularly children who are a bit bouncy and enthusiastic. So yeah, Louis Jordan. Dad is where I kind of got the proper blues from. So things like B.B. King a lot, John Lee Hooker, Muddy Waters, and then Aretha a lot of the time. But big names.
Yes.
There's no secrets in there.
Yeah.
Just the pop music of the time, I suppose.
Yeah, but I suppose it's interesting that I mean, I'd consider you a contemporary artist, but maybe contemporary artists, you sometimes say, well, what were they listening to? What were their influences? It's somehow surprising that actually a lot of artists will still kind of look that far back to when they talk about what their influences and interests were, or the things that inspired them.
This is why I think I disagree when people say that the golden era of music has passed and music nowadays is bad, or it's a bad time to be a musician or whatever, because there's nothing inspiring. Surely every day is the best possible time for it, because you have everything that's come before you.
Yeah.
And the internet means that you can seek anything out. We've all been sat there drinking beer or whiskey or whatever on YouTube or Spotify, going down the recommendation rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And you find amazing things and things that lead you to stuff you'd have never found. I think it's strange when people say, "Oh, well, you like that music, so you're clearly born in the wrong era." I think, no, I'm very glad to have been born now, because it means I also get the music from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the noughties, music that was released this year that I enjoy.
We'll come back and talk a little bit more about your influences, I think. Should we have another song, and then we can talk a little bit more about where it all comes from? Because there's quite a few interesting things to talk about there, I think.
Yeah, okay. I shall play a song in the meantime.
Okie dokie.
So this is the title track from the first tune I played, My Love. It's the title track from that record called Come What May, which is available on Spotify and YouTube and iTunes and all of your friendly local streaming services.
All of them.
So this is Come What May. You're gone, laid to rest too soon, just a memory. The hound of retrospect rings clear. Would you act differently? Quietly, the world has changed, though the sun still sets on every day. We will live as kings in another life, but for now we will live it, come what may. You're torn into and lost. Where do you belong? We watch as empty holes are filled with fragile hindsight. Oh, unsung, now extinguished light, shone bright, never to return. We learn not to play with fire, so our hands don't burn. And quietly the world is changed, though the sun still sets on every day. We will live as kings in another life, but for now we will live it, come what may.
Fabulous. Well, I mean, still one
Thank you.
of my favorite songs. I've said, I know, I know. Well, I've seen you perform that in various locations at various times, in various circumstances, and it never fails to kind of be quite touching. I think it's just wonderful, wonderful.
Good.
There's, I know I've had one comment saying the sound quality is a little bit rough, and I kind of want to say, yeah, bear with us, guys. Do you know what it is? It's an audio compression thing, because the reason that it went off a little bit is because Joe hit such a big note there, such a big loud note. Basically, it squashed the audio. That's what happened there, so it just disappeared. But we'll keep it as good as we can. Bear with us. It's worth it. It's going to be worth it. That's Stuart. Hello, Stuart. Just want to say hello to Stuart, who's on Facebook, saying hello. And I think Ollie as well. Ollie Townsend, I think, is there as well. So say hello to both of those guys.
Hello.
If you're on watching, do send a comment and say hello. You can do that. And thank you very much for joining us. So we spoke a little bit about the music that you listened to. Do you remember the point at which you went, that it went from I like listening to this to I'd like to make it myself?
No, I remember. I cannot remember a time where I didn't enjoy performing, and of course, as a child with little in the way of real skill. I wasn't one of those virtuosic children. Of course, you get some children who do have real skill. But if you enjoy performing, then you'll be resourceful and find any means of doing that. And so when I was a kid, it was just messing about basically. And then I was as I said earlier on, I was quite energetic and enthusiastic. So I started on the drums actually in a sort of meaningful way. I had a piano in the house always, so I would tinkle at that. And I could figure stuff out just with one hand. I wasn't doing chords or anything, but you can figure out melodies just by pressing each key in turn and then realizing what comes next. I had a brief stint with the violin.
Wow.
But what I wanted was to probably, actually, I'm one of 4 children, although at the time my 2 younger sisters weren't around. But I think what you want is to be noticed. So I went for the drums. And yeah, I think when I moved from the drums to the guitar, it's probably because I wanted to move from the back of the stage to the front of the stage. But I took to the guitar more than I had with anything else.
Yeah.
And spend a lot of time with it.
Yeah, because the guitar, I think, is it right to say? I mean, you can tell me. I may as well ask you. Did the guitar come before? Was singing always a with it, or was it very much I'll play the guitar and singing came second, or was it always a bit of both at the same time?
No, very much guitar first. Before my voice broke, I had a fairly angelic choir boys sort of voice. And then, my voice broke and I was always quite self-conscious about singing. And so, I would play the guitar. And actually, I started singing because I wanted to be in a band and couldn't find a singer. So I thought, well, I've done it once before. Yes, my voice is broken in the meantime, but no one else is prepared to do it. And I want to get out there and play some tunes. So I went for it. Yeah. But very much guitar first, definitely. Yeah.
So we spoke earlier, or we were kind of setting this up. I asked you about your influences and things that sort of brought you to where you are. I know we've spoken before, and I think things like, names that people will, I'm sure, know, like Fleetwood Mac, but we would also want to clarify that that's more the Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac rather than the sort of later Buckingham Nicks Fleetwood Mac is more of an influence.
Arguably, not just more, only Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. Certainly in my formative years. Yeah, I wasn't into the Buckingham Nicks Fleetwood Mac until I was in my 20s. I just didn't really know about it. Yes, which seems silly, but it wasn't there. Didn't feature.
But I think that kind of points to that sort of British blues guitar background or influence or a lineage even. I kind of want to say of the sort of thing that's kind of led you to where you are. One of the artists that you brought up, I think we might have some footage we can show in the background here as we're talking. I'll speak to Julian, who's running the back end for us. There's Led Zeppelin. Since I've Been Loving You, which we probably won't hear the audio on because we want to stay on the air. We might hear a little bit of it, but I mentioned. You mentioned Led Zeppelin, and I kind of thought this is the kind of thing that you're talking about. Maybe more so than some of the, I don't know, Whole Lot of Love and things like that, or Stairway to Heaven. This is probably the kind of Led Zeppelin thing that you're talking about. But am I right? Have you gone? Have you frozen? Well, I'm on the air.
You can make out the question. I'm sorry.
I think you frozen you froze on me for a second. That's okay. I was saying I think that sort of picked up this track because it's probably more this rather than the sort of Stairway to Heaven type thing that people might think of Led Zeppelin, but it's probably more in this area that was the influence to you. No, gone again. Did we lose you when we were playing the video? Is that what happened? I think you're back. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. This is like the Eurovision Song Contest now.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This.
I think maybe when we played the video, we might have lost the stream.
Ever since I played Come What May, there's been a weird thing on the audio. It's like a delay.
I see. Hopefully we can kind of sort that out. Yeah, I was just saying that we were playing that Since I've Been Loving You by Led Zeppelin. It's probably more the kind of Led Zeppelin type thing, rather than maybe the Stairway to Heaven or a Whole Lot of Love thing that people might immediately think of Led Zepp, but it's probably more that blues, very bluesy style stuff that influenced you. Is that fair to say?
I mean, that's my favorite Led Zeppelin song, and that was always on in my house when I was a kid. I think it's one of the most perfect recordings of of that era. It's actually an imperfect recording, but I think that's part of what makes it charming. The whole band is on form. The song's great. So yeah, that Jimmy Page was probably the reason I picked up the guitar in the first place.
Well, you mentioned,
and I'd love to sing like Robert Plant, obviously.
I think many people would. I think if there's a definition of a one of a kind, he's probably that.
For sure, yeah.
You mentioned briefly, well, you said imperfect recording there, which maybe I'm going to use it as a segue anyway to ask you about your recording process. So you mentioned about how the first single came about, but then there's the EP Come What May, and you've got some more things that have been worked on at the moment. What is the process? Where's it all happened, and how did it come about?
So we split our recording time between two places. There is the Cream Room in Dane End in Hertfordshire, which of course you know very well.
I know it very well, yes.
And then there's we use a private studio. I believe it's available for hire, but it's in somebody's home, called Crash Bang Wallop in Winchmore Hill. And I'm always reminded of the Alan Partridge Crash Bang Wallop, what a video. So whenever we record there, I like the hashtag Crash Bang Wallop, what a studio. So the process-wise, for the EP, we recorded the band bits live. So we set up screens, we had drums, guitar, or two guitars, bass, all in the same room at the same time, no clicks, play through the tracks live, and then we did a couple of overdubbed guitars and all of the vocals. And then for the most recent single, we did everything multi-tracked. And the process, it's you can find that a song will evolve even during the recording process, because it's almost like you learn it to play it live. And I do like to give songs some time to evolve in the live set before I record them. And then while you're in the studio, perhaps you're struck by things that work there that you won't be able to replicate live, but they might fit the studio recording. And I don't think anyone is bothered that much if you have a few extra little juicy bits in your studio recordings that you don't do live. Yeah, because that's quite commonplace. So the process is near enough as simple as can be. I've been very lucky in that Denzel Dines, who was the guitar player in the band, and Phil, my drummer, are both tech wizards. I've obviously had your input with engineering, and Francis, who has the other studio. Everyone's kind of been involved. And then the record, Adrian Elmsley, I believe. Yes. He mastered that. And he's mastered some serious people's work. So I was really pleased to be able to have that. Yeah. I
know the information, so I'm not gonna. I don't think it's a secret because I know I hope it's not a secret. But yeah, you say he mastered some fairly serious stuff. He remastered the entire Iron Maiden back catalogue, I think.
Yes, he did. So yeah,
that's
pretty
something.
Serious. Pretty serious guy.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Well, maybe I know there's a slight delay on this, so just for a moment, shall we? Let's play another song, shall we? That's not going to help, but at least it'll stop it being awkward.
It's I can hear all the non-awkward bits, and then there's just silence. I suppose the silences are the awkward bits.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want me to play a song?
Yes, do that. Yes. So you're basically down the road from me, but okay. It sounds like you could be in Australia.
Yeah, I'll play a song and then maybe that'll fix it. But what to play? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll play the new one. I'll best make sure I'm properly in tune first. That'll do. So this is Don't Forget Me, the new single. Although my hand might be a mess, you know my heart can be relied upon. Oh, I confess that sometimes feel that I don't weather the storm. I'm on a quest to be the one that never does you wrong. Oh, I forget that I got no responsibility. I know you're yet to find a man who loves you better than me. I know you best, I see the things that no one else can see. I'm just a person, I can be the things you want from me. I need to make you realize that I'm not hiding. Oh, somebody save my soul. I need you to say you won't forget me. Hey, begging won't work, I'll break. I need you to say you won't forget me. So don't forget me. All the signs I've all been able to tell you everything you need to know. I am aware that I'm not very good at getting the show, but I'm not scared to let you see me when I'm feeling low. I feel I can't live up to my own personality. Now I'm stuck and it's colder than you would believe. I'm out of luck and a miracle is what I need, but I'm not hiding. Oh, somebody save my soul. I need you to say you won't forget me. Hey, then you won't work, I'll break. I need you to say you won't forget me. So don't forget me. Oh. I let you deck my foolish mind, but I'm not hiding. Oh, somebody save my soul. I need you to say you won't forget me. Hey, then it won't work, I'll break. I need you to say you won't forget me. Oh, somebody save my soul. I need you to say you won't forget me. Hey, then it won't work, I'll break. I need you to say you won't forget me. So don't forget me. No, don't forget me. Oh.
Splendid stuff. I think we. I don't know. There was a slight bit where I thought, oh, have we just corrected for time there? You might be hearing me more in real time now. I'm not sure.
I think I can hear you quite well now.
Good. Yes, I was going to say. I think we might not have such a delay as we did a minute ago, which is good. Realizing that I don't want to say hello to those who are listening to us online or watching us online. I've seen Steve Carter. So online commenting, saying great to see and hear you, of course. Stuart Nicholson back again as well, saying great song, thank you. And Kimberly Mango Shot says brilliant seeing you both on my kitchen. Seeing you both on my kitchen. Well, she did say both on my kitchen whilst I cook is awesome. That's great. On in my kitchen. Yes. So it's great to see you both on my kitchen table.
Yeah.
There's another thing. It is. I appreciate we're sometimes we've got internet. I mean, the fact that we're in sort of lockdown and we're doing these things, I think, is splendid. There is the slight vagaries of internet connections, as we said, had a slight delay there and a little bit of compression on the vocal, um, which just really brings me to say that one of the things that we simply love as audiences and as performers as well is obviously live performance and standing in front of a crowd. So we kind of know that this is second to that. I mean, hopefully try and make it as good a second to that. But how you enjoy live performance a lot, I think. What's your take on playing live? What really makes it for you?
I think you can't beat an audience that's enjoying it. If you, the thing that I love about live performance is the immediacy of things. And I mentioned earlier on enjoying an imperfect recording, and I think what's really special about it is, I'm playing an instrument and clearly susceptible to temperature. As this room gets hotter, the guitar starts to go a bit strange. Vocally, you are different at every gig. Every room sounds different, and I think I love that you will never again capture what happened in that room or in that field. In the case of festivals, if you go back to the same festival or venue numerous times, every single time is different, and that's the thing I love about it. And if you have a really engaged audience, and arguably it's up to us as musicians to engage the audience, but if the stars align and you kind of have an audience that is already engaged, and then you please them with what you're doing, then I think that's what I love about it. So I'm a servant basically to the audience, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that made me think of is I think it was probably Paul McCartney or one of the Beatles or just somebody talking about the Beatles that said that no matter how successful they got, they never forgot that they were entertainers. That was what they thought their job was.
Yeah.
Not artist, not songwriter, entertainer. That's how they always considered themselves. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And also,
well, I think I was just going to say, if you aren't aiming to entertain, then you would stay in your house and play the guitar and sing to yourself. If that is truly the thing that you love, but plenty of people do it, and good for them. Plenty of bedroom players who the only enjoyment that they want to take from it is just doing it for themselves. But I, as I said earlier on, have always had an urge to perform, and I really enjoy scratching the itch.
Yeah. The other thing I was that made me think of was I remember somebody saying we don't have to go back that long before the opportunity to put things on phones and all that kind of stuff. But certainly you go back to certainly a century or so ago. Then if you didn't attend a concert, that was it. You were never going to experience it. It could only be experienced by attending it, and it was gone forever if you weren't there. So it was sort of. Like I said, a completely different experience to have been you had to be there experience. I think we can, many of us are missing that bit of the you had to be there experience because of not being able to get out and be live. Do you have is there one that sticks out in your mind as a gig that you played or a venue that you've played that's like, oh yeah, that was special?
It's been a real privilege the last 3 years to have been invited to do Stand and Calling, which is a local festival to us in Standon, funnily enough. And the last time was probably my favourite. The weather was completely bonkers. It had been ridiculously hot all day, and then 10 minutes before we were due to play, we were on stage sound checking and everything. The heavens opened in a way that had not been seen for months. But it was a very quick storm. People thankfully braved it and you can see people in beer tents and other tents and things in the distance. And then as the rain stops, people slowly come towards the stage. The other one, we played Bearded Theory a couple of years ago. Bearded Theory Spring Gathering up in I think it's the Midlands. It's near Derby, I want to say.
Can't help.
Is that the Midlands?
Yeah, Derby, definitely Midlands. Okay. Yeah.
Geography not my strong point, clearly. So yeah, we played that, and that was really good fun. Again, it was raining, but we were covered. The audience was covered as well that time, and I did make a point of thanking those who were there, if they were there only because they were sheltering from the rain. But that's classic case of what I mentioned before, where you have an audience that is immediately engaged. They were just such a good audience. Yeah. And that's why Standon's been really special. Yeah. And in the case of Standon, it's great fun to walk around and actually speak to people, because I've been going to that festival for the last nearly 10 years, every year. Lucky enough, the last 3 years to have played it. And so you get to know the faces. It's nice. Yeah. People talk shoes. Good.
We might have some pictures of you on stage, actually, which I'm pretty sure. I'm putting Julie on the spot here. I'm making sure that he's paying attention. There you go. Look at that.
There we go.
And I'm pretty sure that is from
Standon Calling. That's how I should look now.
That's not from Standon Calling. That's from a local. I know where that's from. That's from the Duncombe Arms. But yeah, these.
No, it's not. It's from the Dog and Whistle.
Oh, the Dog and Whistle. I got that wrong. But yeah, I think that's a kind of that's your traditional stage outfit, I think, which always makes you stand out, I think. Oh, and that was before that. There you go. And I know that was taken on the way to
Standon Calling. Consistency on the t-shirt.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about. I saw this picture earlier on as well. What was going on at Abbey Road? Because that wasn't just That wasn't just I'll sneak up to the door and hang outside. But you did a bit of recording at Abbey Road.
Yeah, I think I'm obliged to say, in the interest of honesty, that we did the recording at the Abbey Road Institute because we knew a guy who was attending there and did his course there. But you're still in the same building. There's still the same gear, still got the same vibe. All of the tourists taking photos on the zebra crossing outside.
You still get you still buy chips from the same cafeteria.
Yeah, exactly. The same cafeteria that the Beatles ate their chips in.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
But hopefully not the same oil.
You have also played a little bit further afield as well. You went to, is it 2 years ago now? You were in Georgia.
3 years ago this year. That was mad. They were organising the country's first ever blues and wine festival. And Georgia is the country that I think that has the earliest record of wine, and therefore can probably stake a claim to having invented it. So I know a Georgian blues player who lives here, and he put those guys in touch with me, and they got in touch and said, would you like to fly out and play this festival? And of course the answer is yes. Yeah. What else are you going to do? I love blues, love wine, love playing, love meeting people. And it's honestly the biggest surprise I've ever had. I think they are so warm and hospitable. And the food is amazing. The wine is, of course, amazing. The weather is unbelievable. I didn't realize how good the weather was going to be. I was thinking about packing coats and jumpers and things. Yeah. As you know, former Soviet country, you assume it will be cold. But I looked at the weather app. It's 38 degrees the day before I left. I packed shorts in the end.
It is things like that you get. It's only when you go somewhere like that you have to get some form of. Or you go, oh, it's huge, isn't it? That kind of like you said, the former Soviet, Russian places. So the whole the amount of land that it covers, north, south, east, west, is enormous. It's incredible to think
exactly. But of course, you immediately think of cold Russian winters. Yeah, mistakenly.
Yeah, because that's largely what you see on the television is people with hats and long coats on.
We've got another delay on the line, Martin.
Okay, we'll bear with it. Well, maybe that's a cute. Maybe another song then, because that cleared it last time.
Okay, I shall do so. I'll do a very new one, in fact. So this one, at some point, will get recorded and released, but we haven't put it through the through its paces live yet. So I think. Sorry, this guitar's misbehaving. I think it'd probably be one of the next tunes that we lay down. It's called How It Feels. Sometimes when I'm feeling alone, I notice that your shoulders gone cold. I'm sorry if the stories got old, but I will always have to be told. And I won't be the one to let you just walk away from me until you tell me that I'm wrong this time. Won't you give me one more chance and then we can wait and see? There's no use in crying, so don't cry. No use in make believe, so don't lie. I remember not so long ago, none of this was real. Now I'm trying to tell you how it feels. Sometimes things that we say are strange, trying to find somebody to blame. Well, you can deal me out of your games, 'cause I can see your high horse is lame. There's no use in crying, so don't cry. No use in make believe, so don't lie. I remember not so long ago, none of this was real. Now I'm trying to tell you how it feels. How can I explain when I can hardly breathe? Here we are again. You tell me you're leaving. I won't be the one to let you just walk away from me until you tell me that it's over. Won't you give me one more chance and then we can wait and see? There's no use in crying, so don't cry. No You should make believe, so don't lie. I remember not so long ago, none of this was real. Now I'm trying. There's no use in crying, so don't you cry. No use in make believe, so don't lie. Oh, don't you remember? Not so long ago, none of this was real. Now I'm trying. Oh, I'm trying to tell you how it feels.
Fabulous. Just don't know how much of a
Thank
delay
you.
we're getting. Brilliant stuff. Like you said, it's that. So is the next stage has to be sort of trying to figure out some kind of immediate audience response to live streaming. If we're going to have to carry on with anything of this nature, it's like, how do we make it more interactive for everyone? Because it's kind of knowing how to respond both as an artist and as an audience member, I think, is kind of tough.
Yeah, I think so. And obviously, like I've got you here now, so when I'm performing, there is some immediate, well, not so immediate because of the delay on the line, but there is a more immediate reaction.
Yeah.
I have found it strange when I've just done live streams and it's been me in a room by myself, and you finish the song, and you sort of go, okay, what now? Unfortunately, I've also played gigs like that, but mainly in restaurants and things where you're just background noise.
Yeah, but it's obviously something that's developing.
To have some kind of audience interaction would be nice.
Yeah, it's obviously something that's developing, and I guess we won't be in this situation forever as well, we'd like to think. That's it. So
hope not.
We were speaking earlier on around influences, and you reminded me that well, I suppose it's a sad reminder, anniversary of Jeff Buckley's death today. But that's another one that you flagged up for me as an influence in your past. What is it about Jeff Buckley?
He, for me, is kind of unlike anybody else. He occupies so much, such a broad area in the kind of spectrum of artistry. I think he managed to be a very good musician, great guitar player, very underrated guitar player actually. Managed to be a great musician, a great poet, you know, a great songwriter. Also, you know, weirdly for somebody appeared not to take himself overly seriously. And so it's kind of that weird, like you listen to his music and you think, oh my God, this is tragic, you know, in some respects. And then when you look at I've got the DVD of him live in Chicago, and the audience chat is all quite funny, really.
Yeah.
He's quite light, I suppose, in the way that he talks to the audience. He's, you know, it's not Lewis Capaldi levels of disparity, but he managed to be so many things, and I think that's why he has such enduring popularity. Because he speaks to the kind of emo, not emo music, but you know, those who are quite emotionally drawn to the music. Of course, he speaks to singers because he had such an incredible natural instrument that he used really well. Speaks to guitar players, speaks to songwriters, speaks to poets. I just think he was a lot of things to a lot of people, and there's a lot of value in that, I think.
Yeah, sadly missed. Great loss. There's a few other artists you kind of sent me, as we kind of talked about, maybe sort of more historic touchstones. What's the sort of modern context for you? Who are you admiring that's kind of more contemporary?
I remember when Lord first appeared on the scene, and that song Royals, which is a kind of crazy song, is incredibly sparse. But I like what she is. I like what she does, but I also like what she is. She seems quite. She's got her head screwed on for sure, I think. And I like that she makes pop music, but kind of frames it in an uncompromising way. That might seem like a bit of a nothing statement, but I just think it's a bit more interesting than other pop music. We actually had a song of hers and Disclosure.
Yeah.
A song called Magnets. We had that in our set for a while. But you know, she's clever because she's got her image, she's got the sound. She's like we mentioned earlier on with the beat, and again, there's value in that because she sells herself really well. I think I've certainly bought it.
Yeah, I think David Bowie said she was the future of rock and roll, or some similar sentiment, which I think that's quite something to live up to, but probably well deserved.
I didn't know that, but I can believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, we just played a little bit. I think Magnets was I think I remember again. It's perhaps you performing live as a band. It was one of the you covered it as a band, and it was one of those sort of surprising moments as well, because it wasn't how can I say this? It wasn't a direct translation. You did your own take on it, but it was also clearly something that the audience could kind of go, oh, I get where you're coming from then, if that's part of your set list.
Yeah, and I think being the way that I am, people I think get the impression I probably take myself quite seriously because I am bothered about the way I dress on stage, and it's something I've considered. And my music is not novelty; it's not too light, really, in general. And so I think to pull something that's a recent pop hit, not the biggest hit, but something that's a recent pop hit by a young female artist who's probably quite often dismissed by parts of my audience, I quite like in the way that you. I'm going to plug my phone into charge because I've been naughty and not charged it.
Oh, is that okay? Is that what's happening?
Well, it might be.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
This is not my finest angle, is it?
I don't know. It gives us a bit of. Well, we can all get beard envy now.
Right. Well, at least we will.
There we go, and you're back. Well, we can you hear me?
This delay does not make for easy interviewing, does it?
No. Never knowing quite when to speak or when not. Well, we're probably near to. We're probably near to kind of wanting to wind up anyway, but I don't want to kind of rush things through. Is there there's only one way of asking you. Is there a suitable track to play that can play us out? I suppose is maybe the way to go with this right now. You did ask me. You said maybe you could ask me. You said, "What's the favorite song you've written?" It would be clever if the favorite song you've written is the one you're going to play last. But maybe I'm asking too much of you.
You're correct. That would be the clever move. And in fact, it can be the move.
Amazing.
I think my favourite song I've ever written, very pleasingly, is also quite obviously the fans' favourite. It's a tune called Tapestry. That's from the EP Come What May, that a couple of the earlier tunes were from. I like that song because I think it wears a lot of influence quite apparently, but kind of blends it in such a way that you don't think it's a pastiche. I really am proud, actually, of the lyrics to that tune. This tune, I should say, as I'm about to play it. Yeah, it's quite, I suppose, on the record, it's a fairly aggressive track. And yeah, I mean, I won't explain anything. I'll let people hear it and judge for themselves how they feel. As I said earlier on, even to any of this stuff, then it's on the usual streaming platforms. It's available to purchase, should you wish. And I've actually been thinking about maybe writing up some of my lyrics and posting them on Facebook or whatever, just so that people have got the opportunity. I sometimes mumble a little bit, you know, people. So I just figure I'd write them up, put them out there. So if you're interested in that, anybody who may or may not be watching, then let me know and I'll prioritize certain tracks.
Excellent.
But is it song time?
Yes, let's go for it. And we'll come back and have a quick chat at the end, and then we'll play you out with one of your songs. We'll put on something of yours to play us out. But yeah, let's almost finish with you playing.
This is Tapestry now. Violence fills me in, unaccountable. The way I'm feeling insurmountable. My father falters when he smiles at me. I feel the pressure build up until I cut myself free. Tears stream down my face, so stormy as I look around and find myself alone. And my solipsistic look at those who claim to love me sends my head to hell. My soul so straight up above me. How do I know what I'm fighting for when the ones who cause me pain are the ones I adore? How do I know that I'll make it through with you? I know that I'm the one who's blind. I know till you're getting left behind. I know that I wanna ask you things. I know bringing you is my mistake. I know you know I'm gonna hurt you. I know you're gonna hurt me too. So enough stitch in life's rich tapestry. The demon always screams persuasions in my ear, and the angels never let you talk. My fear and the look of your confusion on your face as you listen, you jump and falling off around the Inquisition. How do I know what I'm fighting for when the ones who cause me pain are the ones I adore? How do I know that I'll make it through with you? I know that I'm the one who's right. I know you feel you're getting left behind. I know you don't want to ask you to take. I know bringing you is my mistake. I know I'm gonna hurt you. I know you're gonna hurt me too. There's all enough sticks in life's rich tapestry. Thank you.
I'll clap on the mic, so at least I can do that. We've got at least an audience of
How lovely to have a round of applause.
I don't know. Does one person count as a round? I don't know.
it doesn't matter. You clap.
Doesn't matter. But I'm just going to assume that everyone else who is watching, and there have been some people watching, so thank you very much for joining us on this stream tonight. I'm going to assume that all of them are clapping as well. That's what's happened, Joe. So that's been going on too. You've got a round of applause for everyone. So thank you very much for doing this. I know it's like everything is possible to improve. You've been brilliant. I want to say that. Thank you very much. Everything's been amazing. It's been great talking to you. I know that we know each other quite well, but also I haven't seen you for a while. So it's been nice to catch up and share some of our conversation with other people as well. And it's always great to hear the music. Always great to hear the music. And we will do this again, I'm sure. And internet willing or lockdown willing, we'll be able to convene in some different way in the future and keep letting the world.
I think next time I'll see if we've been closer to neutral.
Maybe. But maybe next time we'll have a full camera rig, or I don't know. We'll just do something different. In any event,
maybe
we will continue broadcasting to the world the fabulous Baron Goodlove and keep letting people know how good you are. And we will play out tonight. Thank you for joining me, Joe. And we'll play it tonight with your current single, which is "Don't Forget Me," which you played earlier on.
Although my head might be a mess, you know my heart can be relied upon. Though I confess I sometimes feel that I won't weather the storm. I'm on a quest to be the one that never does you wrong. Though I forget that I got more responsibility. I know you're yet to find a man who'll love you better than me. I know you best, I see the things that no one else can see. I'm just impressed that I can be the things you want from me. I need to make you realize that I'm not hiding. Oh, somebody save my soul. Need you to say you won't forget me. Hey, if begging won't work, I'll pray. I need you to say you won't forget me. So don't forget me. Although the signs have all been there to tell you everything you need to know, I am aware that I'm not very good at letting it show. But I'm not scared to let you see me when I'm feeling low. I feel I can't live up to my own personality. Now I'm stuck and it's colder than you would believe. I'm out of luck and a miracle is what I need. But I'm not hiding. Oh, somebody save my soul. I need you to say you won't forget me. Hey, begging won't work, I'll pray. I need you to say you won't forget me. So don't forget me. Dent my foolish pride, but I'm not hiding. Oh, somebody save my soul. I need you to say you won't forget me. Hey, if begging won't work, I'll pray. I need you to say you won't forget me. Oh, somebody